Hello, everyone. In keeping with my obligation to proffer a video upload as I seek to advance in the application process for my beta initiative. Here goes. The first question is, why do you want to become a beta? Well, to be quite honest, I've always been a frustrated teacher. I've always thought deep down that I have an aptitude for it and that I would be very good at it. I sort of have an obsessive compulsive way about myself, in that I want to maximize the effectiveness of whatever I do. I don't know if you call that obsessive compulsive, but I think part of it has to do probably with a little bit of that. What do I mean by that? If I'm teaching a student, I sort of know whether that student has grasped the material. You know what I mean? I sort of know. And I sort of have a way about me wherein if I believe the person has not grasped the material to the extent that they should have grasped the material, I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that the person has grasped the essence of what I'm trying to put across. It might not be in keeping with the quote-unquote vocational aspect of teaching, but I've never believed that teaching is really a vocation. I think that teaching is more of a calling. And so if I have to spend an extra 10 hours of my time, personal time, unpaid time, to make sure that that person knows what he or she ought to know so that they can compete in this society, then I will gladly do it. Because I have, as I said before, an obsessive sort of and compulsive nature with that regard. I will go to the last end of the earth to make sure that person knows and understands the material. My mother was a teacher, and she taught for many, many years. And sometimes children vicariously live through their parents. They most certainly want to emulate their parents. And I suppose that's part of what is stuck in my subconscious with respect to the teaching profession. I also have an emotional drag also toward the profession, because I don't think that many students, especially in the United States, who are on the primary and secondary level, are receiving as adequate an education as they should. And so if I can come up in here and make a difference, then that is what I would gladly do. Moving on to the second question. What is a significant challenge you faced that you had to figure out how to overcome? Well, I grew up in Jamaica in the West Indies. And I remember when I was going to high school, there was no question that I would go to college. My parents expected it of me, and I expected it of myself. Now, the funny thing about Jamaica is Jamaica has, at the time, had one tertiary institution, the University of the West Indies. And on top of it, that being just one institution, it catered to the entire Caribbean, you know? So obviously there was going to be a huge spillover of people who wanted to go to university and would not be able to get into the University of the West Indies. And so I was looking elsewhere, namely the United States. Now, how do you pay for this education that you seek? That was one of my biggest challenges. And thankfully, I overcame that challenge by way of a track scholarship. And I worked half the way and got my tuition paid and room and board based on my talent. And so, thankfully, I overcame that challenge. Now, I read the excerpt entitled The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. This article really gave me great pause. And the reason I had a great pause was because it has a lot of basis in reality. Sadly, when you talk about black males in the United States, they're truly going through a new Jim Crow. I decided I would take a look at the statistics so that I knew where I was going here. And I found out that 745,000 black men are in prison currently. And that 1.2 million are in institutions of higher education. Now, those raw numbers are very close. Those raw numbers should never be that close. I believe the Huffington Post characterized it as being catastrophic. And it is catastrophic. And I don't think it can be explained away by saying that this is something that is inherent in black males. We have a societal problem here. And in case you don't fully understand what I'm talking about, the statistics bear me out. Let's look at India, which has 1.2 billion people. Its total incarcerated are 385,000 people. All right? There are more black men in American prisons than the total prison population of India, Argentina, Lebanon, Canada, Japan, Germany, Finland, Israel, and England combined. The combined total is 745,000 for all those countries I listed. For black men in prison in the United States, 745,000. This is a catastrophe. There's no question about it. And I believe that this society has an obligation to meet it head on and honestly, decisively, and proactively. And if I can play my part from where I stand, this is something that I would gladly do. Now, quickly, because the time. What is one question you're walking away with? Very simple. Why has there not been, through successive presidential administrations and successive legislative administrations, why has there not been a concerted effort and pointed effort to deal with this catastrophe? That is a question I walk away with. I thank you. I hope I didn't stay too long. And I hope to continue in the application process. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.